I'm going to enter the data for some shrinkage and absorption test bars, a drying disk, and an LOI test into my Insight Live account. In this case, I am characterizing a clay, discovering what it is and what it might be useful for. The method is the same for doing quality control or clay body development and troubleshooting. I gave this a code number of L4496, so all test specimens are stamped with that. Notice that I have uploaded photos showing the silica sand it contains, how it reacts to glazes, its cross-section compared to one of our standard terracottas, and the fired test bars. We did firings from cone 06 all the way up to cone 5. Here are the test bars that came out of the dryer. The inset shows the data we can collect at that stage. It includes the length of each bar, the drying factor score, and the wet and dry weight of the LOI specimen. Let's look at the test data section at the bottom of the panel in Insight Live. Notice that all the data has been collected. You can click the title of each section to learn more. For example, I'll click the one for drying factor. Everything you need to know about making the specimen and interpreting its drying behavior is here. The white columns are data we collected. The red ones are calculated values. Cone values had to be interpreted for each. Notice the cone column. This is how accurate our test firings are. Only one overfired slightly. I'll click this Edit button to see how it is entered. The tests are on the right. The ones most frequently used are at the top of the list. The data is on the left. Each row of data belongs to a specimen. The first column is the specimen number. It is stamped on the bars. We usually match it to the cone number, but it doesn't really matter. To edit data for a specimen, click on its specimen number. In the picture, I am measuring bar number 8, so I'll click that one. This is where the value of 93.3 was entered. How do you add a specimen? Choose the test, set the specimen number, and click the Add button. Look at the other test for a moment. This one is the drying factor disk. For these, there are no calculated values. Just enter the information observed. In this case, the drying factor and the amount of soluble salts on the disk. The sieve analysis test likewise simply contains the weight of material found on each of the test sieves. For the LDW test specimen, I enter the wet weight, dry weight, and fired weight. From these, Insight Live can calculate the water content of the pugged material and the loss on ignition when fired. Your typical workflow will involve entering data for batches of test specimens that have just been made or are coming out of the dryer or test kilns. You will likely be measuring specimens from multiple production runs or test projects. It is not necessary to go back to the recipe panel for each. You can use the search field. However, you must enter the complete code number for a match to be found. The implication here is that you have already created recipe records for each material or clay body being tested and assigned them unique code numbers. So, what is the value in collecting all this data? First, it enables you to characterize a material or a clay body, but ceramics tends to be a comparative rather than an absolute science. That is why the second reason is so important. I can search for another clay and compare its data side by side with this one.